You are not walking into the gym with a motivation problem. You are walking in with a fuel problem. This is the first and most important correction. Your body does not generate strength from willpower alone. It generates strength from stored chemical energy. The primary source for resistance training is muscle glycogen, which is stored carbohydrate inside your muscles. When glycogen is full, your muscles can contract forcefully and repeatedly. When glycogen is low, force production drops, coordination declines, and fatigue appears earlier than expected. Imagine trying to run a motorbike in Hanoi traffic with barely any fuel in the tank. The engine still runs, but acceleration is weak and unstable. That is exactly what happens inside your body during training. Many people unintentionally create this situation. They eat less than they think, they skip meals before training, or they reduce carbohydrates too aggressively because they believe it helps fat loss. The result is a chronic state of low energy availability. The International Olympic Committee describes this clearly. Quote, low energy availability impairs physiological function, including metabolic rate, menstrual function, bone health, immunity, and protein synthesis, end quote. From a performance perspective, studies show that even a 15 to 20% calorie deficit can reduce strength output and increase perceived effort during workouts. That means the same weight feels heavier, not because you are weaker, but because your body cannot support the demand. Now, connect this to your experience. You enter the gym already feeling slightly drained. Your warm-up feels heavier than usual. By the time you reach your working sets, your performance drops faster than expected. You assume you are out of shape or not disciplined enough. In reality, your body is protecting itself from an energy shortage. This is not a mindset issue, it is a resource issue. The insight here is simple but powerful. Before you question your motivation, question your fuel. Are you eating enough total calories? Are you consuming enough carbohydrates to support training? Are you timing your meals so your body has usable energy before the session? When these variables are corrected, many people experience an immediate improvement in strength, endurance, and overall training quality without changing the program at all. If this explanation changes how you understand your fatigue, subscribe and like the video so you continue building knowledge based on real physiology, not assumptions. Now we move one layer deeper. Because even with enough food, many people still feel exhausted in the gym. The next hidden factor is sleep quality, not just sleep duration. You can spend 8 hours in bed and still wake up unrecovered if your sleep architecture is poor. Sleep is not a passive state. It is an active biological process where your body repairs tissue, restores the nervous system, and resets hormonal balance. The most critical phases are deep sleep and REM sleep. Deep sleep drives physical recovery, including muscle repair and growth hormone release. REM sleep supports brain recovery, motor learning, and coordination. If either is disrupted, your performance the next day suffers. Think of sleep like a factory reset for your body. If the reset is incomplete, errors accumulate. Reaction time slows, strength output drops, and perceived effort increases. The National Sleep Foundation reports, quote, sleep deprivation is associated with decreased performance, slower reaction times, and reduced accuracy, end quote. In controlled studies, just one night of reduced sleep can lower testosterone levels by up to 10 to 15% and significantly increase fatigue perception. That hormonal shift alone affects strength, recovery, and motivation. Now connect this to your gym experience. You may feel fine at rest, but once you start lifting, your body struggles to maintain output. Your coordination feels off. Your sets feel heavier than expected, and your endurance drops quickly. This is not just muscle fatigue, it is nervous system fatigue caused by incomplete recovery during sleep. Your brain cannot efficiently recruit muscle fibers, so performance declines even if your muscles are technically capable. Another important detail is consistency. Irregular sleep schedules disrupt your circadian rhythm, which controls hormone release, body temperature, and energy levels. Training at high intensity on top of disrupted sleep creates a compounding fatigue effect. Over time, this leads to chronic tiredness in the gym, even if your training program is well designed. The key insight is this: recovery does not start after training, it starts the night before. If your sleep is compromised, your workout is already compromised before it begins. Improving sleep quality, not just quantity, often produces immediate improvements in strength, focus, and endurance. Now we enter a layer most people never consider because you cannot see it or feel it directly. This is central nervous system fatigue. When people think about fatigue, they think about muscles. But strength does not start in the muscle, it starts in the brain. Every repetition you perform is a signal sent from your brain through your spinal cord to recruit motor units inside the muscle. If that signal becomes weaker or less efficient, your performance drops even if your muscles are still capable. Think of your nervous system as the electrical wiring of a building. The lights are your muscles. If the wiring cannot deliver enough current, the lights dim, even if the bulbs are perfectly fine. In training, this happens when the brain reduces its output to protect the body from excessive stress. This is called central fatigue. It involves changes in neurotransmitters such as dopamine and acetylcholine, which directly influence motivation, focus, and motor unit recruitment. Research in sports physiology shows that central fatigue can significantly reduce voluntary force production. Studies have observed measurable decreases in motor unit firing rates during prolonged or high-intensity training sessions. One review in Neuroscience explains, quote, "Central fatigue is associated with reduced neural drive to the muscle, leading to decreased force output," end quote. In practical terms, this means your brain is limiting how much of your muscle you can actually use. Now connect this to your gym experience. You may notice that your first set feels acceptable, but your performance drops sharply across sets, even with adequate rest. Or you feel mentally drained before the workout even begins, and weights that were manageable last week now feel unusually heavy. This is not just physical fatigue. It is reduced neural drive. Your brain is essentially applying a brake. This often happens when training intensity is consistently high without enough recovery, or when combined with life stress, poor sleep, and underfueling. The nervous system does not separate gym stress from life stress. It accumulates everything. Over time, this creates a state where your body is capable, but your brain refuses to fully access that capacity. The key insight is this: fatigue is not always in the muscle. Sometimes it is in the signal that controls the muscle. When you understand this, you stop chasing more effort and start managing total stress load and recovery. At this point, you might think the solution is to push harder, train longer, or add more exercises. This is where many people make the problem worse. Poor workout structure creates what we call junk volume, which is work that adds fatigue without adding meaningful adaptation. Not all training volume is equal. Your body responds best to a specific range of effective sets. Beyond that point, each additional set produces less benefit, but continues to accumulate fatigue. Imagine trying to fill a glass with water. At some point, the glass is full. Pouring more water does not increase the volume inside the glass. It just spills over and creates a mess. In training, that mess is unnecessary fatigue. Research by Brad Schoenfeld shows that hypertrophy gains tend to plateau beyond roughly 10 to 20 sets per muscle group per week for most individuals. Beyond this range, the return on investment drops while fatigue continues to rise. One of his papers states, quote, "Higher training volumes are not necessarily associated with greater muscle growth and may impair recovery when excessive," end quote. Now connect this to your experience. You go into the gym with the mindset that more is better. You add extra sets, extra exercises, maybe even train the same muscle again before it has recovered. Initially, this feels productive. You leave the gym exhausted, which you interpret as a good workout. But over time, your performance declines. Your strength stalls, your sessions feel heavier, and you carry fatigue from one workout into the next. This is not progress. This is accumulation without recovery. Another common mistake is poor intensity distribution. Training too close to failure on every set increases nervous system fatigue rapidly. When every set feels like a maximum effort, your body has no room to recover between sessions. The result is chronic tiredness and reduced performance. The key insight is simple, but often ignored. Better structure beats more effort. When you control volume, manage intensity, and focus on effective sets, you reduce unnecessary fatigue while maintaining progress. This is where intelligent programming replaces guesswork. If this helps you realize that doing more is not always better, subscribe and like the video so you continue learning how to train with precision instead of excess. Now we address a factor that is extremely basic yet consistently ignored. Hydration. Even mild dehydration can significantly reduce your performance in the gym, and most people do not notice it because the effect feels like general fatigue. Your body is largely water, and that water is not passive. It directly supports blood volume, nutrient transport, temperature regulation, and muscle contraction. When hydration drops, all of these systems become less efficient. Think of your blood as a delivery system. It carries oxygen, glucose, amino acids, and electrolytes to your muscles. When you're dehydrated, plasma volume decreases, which means less fluid is available to circulate these nutrients. The result is slower delivery, reduced performance, and an earlier onset of fatigue. The American College of Sports Medicine states, quote, "A body water loss of as little as 2% can impair physical performance," end quote. That is a very small margin. For someone who weighs 70 kilograms, this is only about 1.4 kilograms of water loss. Now connect this to your training. You arrive at the gym slightly dehydrated, maybe from not drinking enough during the day or consuming too much caffeine. Your warm-up feels harder than expected. As the session continues, your muscles fatigue faster, your endurance drops, and your perceived effort increases. You may also notice reduced muscle pump and less stable performance across sets. This is not random. Reduced hydration affects electrolyte balance, particularly sodium and potassium, which are essential for muscle contraction and nerve signaling. When these are disrupted, your muscles cannot contract as efficiently. Another layer is temperature regulation. Dehydration makes it harder for your body to dissipate heat. As your core temperature rises, fatigue increases as a protective mechanism. This means your body will limit performance to avoid overheating, even if your muscles are capable of more work. The key insight is this. Small deficits create noticeable drops in output. Correcting hydration often produces immediate improvements in endurance, strength consistency, and overall training quality without changing anything else in your program. Now we move into a quieter but powerful cause of fatigue, micronutrient deficiencies. These do not create immediate dramatic symptoms, but they slowly reduce your capacity to produce energy. Your body relies on vitamins and minerals to run fundamental processes such as oxygen transport, ATP production, and nerve signaling. When even one of these is insufficient, performance declines in a subtle but persistent way. Think of your body like a factory. Calories are the raw materials, but micronutrients are the tools and machinery that allow production to happen. If the tools are missing or damaged, production slows down even if you have enough raw materials. One of the most common deficiencies related to fatigue is iron. Iron is essential for hemoglobin, the protein that carries oxygen in your blood. Without enough iron, your muscles receive less oxygen, which reduces aerobic and anaerobic energy production. The World Health Organization notes, quote, "Iron deficiency is one of the most common nutritional deficiencies globally and the leading cause of fatigue," end quote. In athletes, studies estimate that up to 30% may experience some level of iron deficiency, especially those with high training volumes. Vitamin D is another critical factor. It plays a role in muscle function, immune regulation, and hormone balance. Low levels are associated with reduced strength and increased fatigue. Magnesium also deserves attention because it is involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions, including those responsible for ATP production, which is the direct energy currency of your cells. Even a mild deficiency can make energy production less efficient. Now connect this to your gym experience. You may feel consistently low in energy despite eating enough and sleeping reasonably well. Your endurance is limited, your recovery feels incomplete, and your strength progression is slower than expected. These are often signs that something deeper is limiting your physiology. The key insight is this: energy is not just about calories. It is about the ability to use those calories. When micronutrients are insufficient, your body cannot fully convert fuel into usable energy. Identifying and correcting these deficiencies can unlock performance that was previously suppressed without obvious reason. Now we connect everything to a layer that many people underestimate: psychological stress. Your body does not separate stress from work, relationships, lack of sleep, or training. It processes all of it through the same biological systems. The central player here is cortisol, a hormone that helps you respond to stress, but becomes harmful when chronically elevated. In the short term, cortisol is useful. It mobilizes energy and increases alertness. But when it stays elevated for too long, it suppresses recovery, reduces muscle protein synthesis, and increases fatigue. Think of stress like background noise in a system. A small amount is manageable, but when the noise becomes constant, it interferes with every signal. In your body, this means reduced recovery quality, impaired sleep, and decreased training performance. Research in endocrinology shows that chronically elevated cortisol levels are associated with reduced strength gains and slower recovery rates. One review explains, quote, "Prolonged stress exposure can impair muscle recovery and reduce physical performance capacity," end quote. Now connect this to your experience. You may come to the gym after a mentally exhausting day. Even if your muscles are not physically tired, your session feels harder. Your focus is lower, your coordination is slightly off, and your motivation feels unstable. This is not a coincidence. Mental fatigue directly affects physical performance by reducing neural efficiency and increasing perceived effort. Studies have shown that mental fatigue can increase perceived exertion during exercise without changing the actual physical workload. That means the same workout feels harder simply because your brain is already taxed. Over time, this creates a compounding effect. Poor sleep increases stress, stress reduces recovery, and reduced recovery increases fatigue in the gym. This cycle continues unless you actively manage total stress load, not just training load. The key insight is this: your performance in the gym reflects your entire life, not just your workout. When stress is high, your capacity to train effectively is reduced, even if your program is perfect. Now we bring everything together into one final principle. Your body has a limited recovery capacity, and fatigue appears when your demands exceed that capacity. This is the core idea behind the supercompensation model. After a training session, your performance temporarily drops due to fatigue. With proper recovery, it rebounds above baseline, which is adaptation. But if you train again before recovery is complete, you stack fatigue on top of fatigue. Over time, this leads to a downward trend in performance instead of progress. Think of this like digging a hole and trying to fill it at the same time. Training digs the hole, recovery fills it. If you dig faster than you fill, the hole gets deeper. In physiology, this means accumulated fatigue, reduced strength, poor motivation, and higher injury risk. Sports science literature consistently shows that excessive training without adequate recovery can reduce performance by measurable margins. In some overreaching studies, strength and power output dropped by around 5 to 10% when recovery was insufficient. One textbook explanation states, quote, "Performance improvements occur only when recovery is sufficient to allow supercompensation," end quote. Now connect this to your reality. You may be doing many things correctly, training hard, eating reasonably well, showing up consistently. But if your total stress from training, life, sleep, and nutrition exceeds your ability to recover, fatigue becomes your constant state. This is why two people can follow the same program and experience completely different results. One adapts, the other accumulates fatigue. The difference is not effort, it is recovery capacity. The final insight is control. You do not need to guess anymore. You manage fatigue by balancing input and recovery. Adjust training volume and intensity, improve sleep, fuel properly, manage stress, and monitor how your body responds. When recovery matches demand, energy returns, performance improves, and the gym no longer feels like a constant struggle. If this framework gives you a clear way to fix your fatigue instead of just enduring it, Subscribe and like the video so you can continue building your training on principles that actually work.